Um, it's really an honor to be here to speak to you, especially after that talk and especially being in Germany dealing with the refugee crisis. We all want to understand, empathize with refugees, with people that are not like us in different and difficult situations. So this talk is a little bit about our journey at the United Nations with virtual reality technologies. Who here has tried virtual reality? Oh, that's amazing. Okay. So I just want to start out by something a little bit philosophical because we are in Germany. So I thought I added some slides that are a little bit to give the context of what's happening. I think from the dawn of photography and visual media, a lot of it has been used to try to understand the pain of others. And so what we're trying to do with the virtual reality program at the United Nations is represent the pain of others. And so I have this title here, Representing the Pain of Others, but it's alluding to a very amazing book by Susan Sontag called Regarding the Pain of Others, where she also examines the role of photography and visual media in actually making a difference. Now, whenever I tell people I do virtual reality and that we can use virtual reality to take people to places they haven't been to, there is always the thing, oh, incredible, just take that, show people what war is like, show people what poor people are like, and they can really feel what's going on, and they'll do something. But I just want to start out by saying that that's not enough. There really is how you do it and how you go about it. So just to start out, it is passivity that dulls feeling. And a lot of early photos about war, about poverty, even in the 80s when we had the Ethiopia famine, it's still that passive relationship. And so at UNVR, we really think about how you can get someone to be a spectator and go to having some agency to make some change. So that's where we'll try to take you. But just to start out, this is one of the earliest photos from the Civil War in America. And these are spectators of war. These are politicians, civilians, who would be on the hill and watch war from atop to really get an understanding. And this is a photo of that, so it's a bit meta. This is from a very famous book before World War II in Germany with Ernest Friedrich, War Against War. We're sorry for some of the graphic images, but it might not even seem so graphic to you now because we've been kind of desensitized to some of this. But it was basically a book that, after World War II, tried to show the horrors of war. It was in 10 editions in Germany, translated into many languages, and it's basically shock therapy, if you actually look at it. But the point is that it didn't stop the next war. So it's not enough. We just need to go a little bit deeper as to what we're trying to do. Everyone knows this picture, and I bring it up to contrast it with what we do in UNVR. I'm not going to put too much of a time on it, but my thing is, are we doing the same thing with shock again? For us, shock is not the answer because it's not sustainable. We really need to do something different that gives people who we're telling these stories to have a voice and to have some agency in doing it. So just to give you a little bit of the boy, there are many things with the boy of why it worked. But ask yourself, if the boy was a different race, if he didn't have those shoes, would we care as much? There's a lot of manipulation that can happen with a lot of photos. And ISIS itself used that same photo for its own purposes. But this is the solution of Sidra. Sidra is our main protagonist for the first film we did at the UN called Clouds Over Sidra, where she's able to give you a tour of Zaatari refugee camp. And it's a 7-minute experience. And most people who watch it are shocked because it's not shocking. And most people are moved because they don't understand why they're moved. It's because we are really working on giving you the ordinary sense of connection with somebody. Because in order to identify with somebody, you have to feel something in common. So Sidra plays soccer. Sidra plays with her little brother. we really try to emphasize that she's just like you and us. But if we show her dead on a beach, or if we show her violated or crying, it doesn't have the same sort of thing. There's a distance. So we're really working on all of our series to have it be, to keep the dignity of our protagonist in that way. So just a little bit about, what we think about empathy and its relationship to dignity. And we can have these slides later on for people. Why virtual reality? It's very, very hard to speak about virtual reality if you haven't experienced it. So I'm not going to try to talk about it too much. I just want to show you a quick 1-minute, 30-second video here of reactions to people experiencing it. Because people ask, how can you do something at the UN where not many people can see it, and how do you scale it, or what does it do? And I think the answer is here. We've never gotten reactions like this for our work, and we'll go into a little bit of what it does. So hopefully we double-click and it works.
The girl in the video was only like 2 years younger than me, and the boys running around were my brother's age.
It gave me a real sense of appreciation for what I've got here.
I felt as if I was actually there, and I could actually feel the pain of the children and their suffering.
Made the people seem so alive, and I think that's really important with this. The people have to be alive in order for change to happen.
It was something that I don't want to believe is happening, but I can't ignore it anymore.
I knew about what was going on, but I didn't really know the extent of everything that happened there.
Open one arm and then the other, and then walk towards a person and then hug them.
What are you doing? Why are basic human rights still being denied in the 21st century? Why are there still people falling dead on the streets? Why do humans feel the need for war?
My sorrow is one based on, me coming to school when it's raining. For them, it's not even being able to go to school.
Yeah, it really makes you feel for what's happening in that situation.
They said that it will kind of pass, like the clouds, and I thought that was really inspiring.
How they can just find happiness in a place where there's not going to be much.
These were other girls like me going through it and actually thinking and feeling how they are feeling.
There's just so much children who need our help and so much people we need to reach out to.
Great. So that was our initial reaction with the virtual reality. And that was actually in New Zealand with UNICEF, who is using headsets, and we have the film in 40 different countries, translated in 15 different languages, being used for face-to-face fundraising right now. And this is some of the reactions, how it is. We're taking it to the street. And the initial data coming out, and it was covered in Fast Company in November when they did a feature on our project, which was that 1 in 6 people who watch this on the street donate for the Syrian refugee cause, which is double the usual rate. And it's no surprise to me, because when you go in there, you can feel, you can do it. But it doesn't work for all types of virtual reality experiences. My main sort of thesis is it has to be done in the way that respects the dignity of the viewer and the person. So there's going to be a lot of people with virtual reality, and you might have your own causes, and you might say, let's just do a VR film, and it's going to be great. But it's with that element of storytelling and it being done in that way that we start out with in the beginning to not fall into those traps that I think makes the bigger difference. But people don't always listen to me when I say that, because it's such an attractive, seductive technology. But please, if there's one thing you can come away with, storytelling matters, the art of it matters, the presentation of it still matters, and I think even matters even more. So 1 in 6, just a little bit of what we're doing. Now, I want to contrast this sort of approach, and I do have some UN colleagues in the audience that I don't want to offend. But our traditional way, the reason I came up with to deal with this sort of way was, our traditional way is to have goodwill ambassadors if we want to get the message out, and to also try to get op-eds into the New York Times, And these are really important things still to do, but in my time, I realized that with the digital revolution and with what's happening in the world, this is becoming less and less effective. So without Angelina Jolie, we have about 5,000 views on our YouTube channel, which is not a lot. That's actually a little bit higher. I think the average statistic is something like 200 to 300 views, which is abominable for an organization that works on the world's most pressing social issues. But we're trying to change that. So if you bring in Angelina Jolie, you get a little bit better, right? You're at maybe 87,000. But this is what we're up against, 6.5 million views for burgers and cats and all that stuff. So when we started out, people said, you know what, you can't, no, that's just how it's gonna be, burgers and cats, that's how it is. When I wanted to do VR, they're like, gaming and pornography, social issues, come on. But I think you should believe, that there is a common humanity to us, that we are not frivolous people, that we do care. We have to have that as our belief system. So we started out and I worked on a viral video campaign for the Climate Change Summit. Again, trying to use the first person sort of dignifying. It's not about this is what the UN did, this is how great it is, look at us help people. Let's just listen to the people and let's talk about a problem and let's try to come up with a solution. So we did something with hundreds of signatures that led to a petition and the government of Ecuador apologizing to an indigenous community where it wasn't consulted for oil exploration. I worked closely with Humans of New York, also a similar approach to do his UN tour. And I learned a lot from Brandon, and I think a lot of it is that kind of influence of working with new media, bloggers, and just the digital revolution of those authentic stories. And that's really influenced the UN VR series that we direct. So that's just a little bit. I encourage you to check that out. This is Secretary General Ban Ki-moon at the pledging conference, and we've been incorporating this in a lot of our Syrian refugee outreach. The White House also, on aidrefugees.gov. You can watch it on here. You can watch it on your desktop in a 360 way. So there's ways that you can watch it without a headset. It's not as immersive, but we think the technology will pick up. Just a little bit more about that. And this is a final point that I want to say, that when an institution like the United Nations takes one step towards innovation and to do something cool, because the first time I tell people that we're doing virtual reality and we're some of the pioneers in it, they're shocked because they think we're a bureaucratic, backwards organization. And in some ways we are, and there's a lot of things that are wrong with us. But if we actually show some of the hope of working with innovation, it's led to a partnership with Facebook after. It's led to this partnership we have with YouTube. I'm here. I'm going to talk to a lot of you, and we're going to collaborate and do other things. So it really opens the door for many other collaborations. So for us, it's been a risk, but I think the rewards have been very fruitful. Now, I want to leave you now with a video. So we have two virtual reality experiences. The first one's called Clouds Over Sidra, which is on the Syrian refugee crisis. And then the second one is on Liberia, Waves of Grace, which is on the Ebola crisis and Ebola survivor. And that's going to be at the upcoming Sundance Film Festival. It's been selected to be there. People always ask me who the audience is for these types of films. I mean, of course, it's everyone. But in my mind, it's Werner Herzog, it's really, we want to make sure that this goes into film festivals and can really be something that's award-winning content. So as a little treat, we have a new VR experience coming out that I'll be debuting as a sneak preview at Davos, because I'm going to Davos after this, and it's on Gaza. And so I want to show you a behind-the-scenes, a 2-minute video about what it's like to shoot in 360. And you'll get a little sense of what it is. There's no dialogue. It's just going to be music and images. We can do that. Cool. Thank you. So I just want to say thank you. We had some flattened out versions of what it could look like, so you can get some ideas of some of the scenes. And for those of you who are interested, we have one headset. We can do some demos outside if you're interested, and I'm here to answer your questions. I'm sure there's a lot of them if you haven't been experienced with it. So we'll do the best to really get you involved and let you know more. But we really would like to collaborate with more people to tell more of these stories in this approach and to really use these films to keep making more of a difference. So thanks again. Thank you for listening.